Hey there, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, my name is Katie and this is Louisiana Cooking and Living, and we welcome you if you are new. And today we're going to do something kind of fun. I am going to be going with some ladies from my church to the beach for a little time to get away, and I have offered to make one of the dinners that we are going to be having while we're there. And so I've chosen lasagna, and I'm going to make it two different ways, and we're going to make that today and get that in the freezer so that I can take it next week on the trip with me. And the two different ways we're going to be making is a traditional, and then I guess you could say a gluten-free way. Last year I had actually made as lasagna with you guys, and we used zucchini as our noodles, but I did not think ahead as to how much moisture the noodles were going to put, or the zucchini was going to put out. And it was a pretty wet lasagna, and my husband said, why don't we freeze dry that zucchini, and that way as it cooks in the lasagna it will absorb any extra moisture and not give off any moisture, and it would not be as wet. And so we have done that one time since then, and that was my other option for a gluten-free option for a lasagna for the retreat. And so we'll be making a lasagna with freeze-dried zucchini. If you don't know what a freeze dryer is, it is a piece of equipment, like I guess you could say an appliance, and I will leave up here in the cards just maybe one of my freeze dryer videos so you can kind of see what the equipment looks like. My brand that I have is called Harvest Right, and I actually have a discount code in the description box. And in the month of May, they typically will run a sale for Mother's Day. So if you want to check them out, it's a good investment if you have that option right now. We freeze dry quite a bit of things from the garden, but you could also freeze dry, and I'll have videos about this. Any leftovers you have. I did in a video a meatloaf dinner where you did the meatloaf, the mashed potatoes, and the green beans, and then I also showed you rehydrating that, and it goes back to the regular normal texture. It's as if you have, it's not even like leftover quality, it's better than leftovers, because all you did was pull the moisture out and then put the moisture back. So it's actually a really good option for leftovers. My husband will take these freeze-dried leftovers out of town with him, and so he can have home-cooked food when he's out of town. So freeze dryers are amazing. Any abundance you have from the garden, I buy. Let me just kind of grab what out of the refrigerator what I'm getting ready to say. I buy this bulk peeled garlic from Costco. It's organic, it's 3 pounds, and it's anywhere from $9 to $10. I will freeze dry this, throw it in my food processor, grind it up, and make my own garlic powder. I also will mix it half and half with salt and make some garlic salt. Peppers that I have harvested from the garden, let me grab those. I did cayennes in the freeze dryer, mixed that with salt, and then I also did jalapenos. So I have some spicy salts here we can use. I've done beef organs. We last year purchased half a cow, and I took those organs from the cow and freeze dried that for dog treats for my dogs. When strawberries are abundant here in Louisiana during strawberry season, I have freeze dried strawberries. There's so many options for freeze drying. So I highly suggest you look into a freeze dryer if you have that availability right now to do that with your budget. They are an expense, but they are well worth it of what they can give you back. So we are going to be doing two different lasagnas. We're not going to bake them off because they will go in the freezer, and we'll bake those off when we're on our little trip together. So I already have some ground meat going in the stove top over here. I'm going to do my ground meat in 2 batches to make sure I get some good, crispy, brown, yummy bits on that ground meat. We don't want to steam it. We want to fry it, brown it. And so that is going over here, and we are going to make some homemade sauce in this big, huge pot over here. And whatever extra I have, I will just can that because I'm not quite sure how much sauce I need for how much lasagna I'm making. And I already pre-chopped my onions. I have 2 very large onions I have chopped. I just did a rough chop because we are going to use the immersion blender because some of our tomatoes are going to be whole tomatoes that we're using. And I have got my garlic that you just saw. So we have that garlic, and I guess we'll move over to the stovetop and start making our sauce. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my pot turned on, and I'm gonna get a good amount of some good olive oil in here. You want to use a good olive oil because that olive oil flavor is going to come through in your sauce. And we are going to be seasoning our sauce, but we are going to season our layers. So we are going to season our meat also. I put some chopped onion in here. I'm going to add some good amount of basil, a good amount of oregano. I'm going to add some salt to this. In the pan here, I have 3 pounds of, I got this grass-fed ground beef that's 85/15. So 3 pounds are in here, and then I have 2 more to cook after this. And you can see how we're getting these yummy brown bits on our meat. And even though this is 85/15, you can see there is not much fat in this meat. There's nothing pooling in the middle at all. I find the higher quality meat, even if it says it's a higher fat content, I really find that it can be kind of dry anyway. It's not really fatty, if that makes sense. And then as soon as this is done, I will pull this out and we will start our other ground meat going. And this is about done. So in our big pot here, I'm going to add our 2 massive onions that I have chopped. And then I have a good handful of garlic cloves here that I'm going to crush into my pot. If you don't have a garlic garlic press, that's what this is called, you can definitely chop these by hand. But I'll leave mine linked in the description box if you want to check it out. It is kind of handy when you're going to be crushing quite a bit of garlic at one time. We're going to use this garlic in our ricotta filling also. So I wanted to, oops. Well, we're going to use the immersion blender so that large garlic clove will get blended up that way. Oops. I'm just throwing them all in there. All right, let me get these crushed. I'm going to pull this ground meat out and get the next ground meat started. So we have added our onions and our seasonings to our second batch of meat here. And our onions and garlic here are sauteed up nicely. I'm going to turn my burner down because we're going to start adding some liquids to this. So I have, let's see, 12 cans of this. Actually, I'm going to add the other tomatoes first because these are the ones I'm going to need to do with the immersion blender. So this is, I've showed this before when I've canned spaghetti sauce with you guys. This is San Marzano canned tomatoes, and the only thing they have in here besides the tomatoes is some fresh basil. So we're going to dump these in here first. And when I'm making spaghetti sauce without homegrown tomatoes, this is the tomatoes I like to use. I get these on Amazon actually. They're cheaper than getting them at the store. And I like it in the inside of the cans. It's lined and it's not the aluminum touching the tomato. All right, so I have 6 of these cans, and these cans are 28 ounces. And we'll get these in here, we'll immersion blend them, and then we'll add the other tomatoes to the pot. All right, we're gonna put the immersion blender in here and blend these tomatoes and veggies up. see if we have any whole tomatoes left. Looks like we got everything. All right, so next I have these cans of tomato sauce, and I have 12 of these. We'll just see what fits in the pot. All right, they all fit. All right, so we're gonna add some seasonings to this. I'm gonna add some granulated garlic. So people wonder why you put fresh garlic and onions in here, and then you also put seasoning garlic and onions. This is dehydrated when it is processed, and dehydrated actually cooks it when you're dehydrating. So it has a different flavor than just a fresh onion and garlic. So I like to add both of those. So we're gonna add some garlic, some onion. I'm gonna add some oregano. I'm gonna add some Italian seasoning. Italian seasoning has oregano and basil, but they also have a few other things. So I'm adding Italian seasoning. I am adding some crushed red pepper flakes. I'm not adding a lot because not everybody likes spicy. I'm just adding a little bit. And then here's another freeze-dried item. This is basil that I freeze-dried from my garden last year. You can see how green it still is. It's not like whenever you get, well, you can't really see in here. It's kind of more brown when you buy it in the seasoning jar because this is dehydrated again, where it is actually used a heat to process it as opposed to freeze drying it where it stays vibrant and fresh looking. So this does have an oxygen absorber in it because this has been sitting on my shelf for about 8 months, and for extended periods of time, you kind of want to use that oxygen absorber. I'm just going to crush this up in here. And that's going to taste as if we put fresh basil in there. The smell is amazing from this too. All right, we're going to add some salt. Give this a stir. And typically I add sugar to kind of cut the acidity in a tomato sauce. And last year, there's a few tomatoes I'm finding now. Those will simmer though. I had made some barbecue sauce with you guys. I didn't want to add too much sugar with that, and I can link that recipe. And I thought back to I homeschooled my kids, and I thought back to chemistry days and what can counteract the acidity. And I thought of baking soda. And I added the baking soda to the barbecue sauce, and it bubbled up because it's an acid and base reacting against each other. And it took care of that acidity. And so I thought about doing that today so that there's not an extra sugar content in this, if that makes sense. And we will use baking soda to cut that today. Because you need acidity to can safely in a water bath, and I'm going to put the baking soda in this. Anything extra, I'm going to freeze it instead of pressure canning it, since I don't know that it'll be safe to water bath can it. So I will freeze anything extra. All right, we're going to let this simmer for a little while, and we'll come back and taste test it. But in the meantime, I think we can go ahead and make our ricotta layer for our lasagna, and we'll get that made up and ready to go. So let's move over to the countertop and do that. All right, I'm going to use 2, and I'm just kind of eyeballing all this. I had made a lasagna soup last fall, and I do have a video of that if you're interested in lasagna soup. It was so good. And I did have a ricotta mixture that we dolloped on top, got like a cookie scoop and dolloped it on top of the the soup. And so I'm kind of adapting that topping mixture for this lasagna. So I have 2 28-ounce containers of ricotta cheese here. Hopefully my bowl's big enough to stir in. And to this, we're going to add some mozzarella cheese. I went on and shredded all my mozzarella cheese I was going to need for lasagna today with my food processor yesterday to make it easy for today. You could buy already shredded cheese, but this is what I went with. It melts better if it's freshly grated, because already grated cheese that you buy at the store has a coating on it to keep the individual shreds separated so it doesn't become like a huge block. Now we're going to add some parsley, a good bit of that. We're going to add some black pepper, some salt. If you wanted to add an egg to this, you definitely could. I'm not going to. We're going to add some garlic powder. I was going to add the fresh chopped garlic, but I decided to go with the garlic powder. We're just going to mix this together, and this is going to be our ricotta layer. We'll do this gently in this bowl. Actually, I think I'm going to add some Parmesan to this too. That might be really good in here. Let me grab some Parmesan. Now, I sat there and said about the pre-shredded cheese. This pre-shredded Parmigiano Reggiano from Costco does not have anything in it to any of the, it's basically wood pulp. Cellulose is what they call it, but it's basically a wood pulp that they put in the shredded cheese to keep it separated. But they do not do that with this Parmesan. All right, we'll add that in there. We'll get this all mixed up, and this will be our next layer. So we'll have our meat sauce, our lasagna noodles slash zucchini, freeze-dried zucchini. We'll have the ricotta layer, and then we'll also have the mozzarella cheese. All right, so we are almost to a point where we can start seeing the end of this, since we're not going to be baking this today. Our tomato sauce is simmering. We'll add the ground meat to that. And this is ready to go. All my cheese is shredded. I bought the no boil lasagna noodles because I'm not baking this today, and I feel like it'll have time to absorb any liquid that it needs to basically rehydrate. All right, that looks like a good mixture. A good amount of parsley in there. Of course, I'm not going to taste test this to see if it's got enough garlic and salt and pepper. Sorry if you want to taste test. I am not a huge just ricotta fan, but in lasagna, I have grown to love it. All right, we'll be back when it's time to mix up our meat sauce. So I've separated the sauce out so I can put the meat in it. I knew the meat wasn't going to fit in the one pot with all the sauce. So I've kind of divvied up the meat, divvied up some of the sauce, and I've tasted it once, add a little bit more seasonings of all the seasonings. And now we're going to add our baking soda and try this trick. I don't think I'll get a true taste of this until I cut some of that acidity. So I'm going to start with a teaspoon in here. This one's smaller, so we'll go with a half a teaspoon over there. We'll give this a stir. I don't know if you can see that foaming action there. That's it reacting with that acid to cut that acid. Let's give this one a stir. All right, we'll get a clean taste here. Drop that on my spoon. That makes such a big difference. Those are good. Those are really good. All right, I think we might be ready to go ahead and layer our lasagna because both of these are tasting really good. All right, I'm gonna turn these burners off. And we'll get everything together so that we can layer our lasagna. All right, so our first layer we're gonna do is just try and skim off just some sauce, not trying to get the meat chunks in it, just to kind of give us a base layer here. And I'm going to hopefully work side by side on these pans and not get confused as to what our layers are between our noodles and our zucchini. So I just have some of these no boil lasagna sheets. I'll put these down. And then, so on the Harvest Right freeze dryer, they send you these bags to put your, whatever it is you're freeze drying in. You can label it and seal these up. Again, I should have an oxygen absorber down in here for these. And this is our zucchini. And we'll just put layers of these down. For the next layer, you can see how I just broke that. I'll just show you again. I just break, it just takes all the moisture out is what it does. Spread all these around. Build it like a puzzle here. Now we'll add a good layer of sauce on top. All right, I'm going to put some little dollops here of our ricotta mixture. And we'll fill in the gaps with our mozzarella cheese here. And then we're just going to keep layering. Another layer of our noodles. I'm going to go opposite direction this time. And then our zucchini here. These are some nice big slices. There we go. All right, some more sauce and keep layering. And we're almost done. Look at everything we were able to get out of that one day of cooking. I have so much for the freezer and then also for our little ladies retreat we're going to be doing. So I got 2 pans of the lasagna. One is zucchini for noodles and one is regular noodles. So that anybody who wants low carb or gluten free, they have that option. I was able to get 1 pan of lasagna smaller to go in the freezer that has zucchini for the noodles. one pan that has regular noodles, and then one pan that had whatever zucchini we had left along with regular noodles, and 2 gallon-sized bags of the meat sauce here, all in one cooking time. If you're making it, especially lasagna, it takes a lot of pots and pans to make this. Go ahead and make a whole bunch, get it in your freezer, and you have many meals to come. If you're going to make your kitchen dirty once, go ahead and make a lot. So this is our big cooking day today. All right, so that's everything we got made today. I'm super excited. We'll have some lasagna in the freezer. I'll get to bless my friends with some lasagna, and I hit meat sauce if I need to bring dinner to somebody. That's ready to go also. Just get a box of noodles. If you want to do a bag salad, you could do that. I am going to be making a Caesar salad to go with this the lasagna. And then if you recently saw my roasted garlic rosemary focaccia bread, I'll be making that on the retreat for our bread component of this. And then those that need to be gluten-free. I tried making a gluten-free focaccia bread. It didn't turn out very good. I'll probably just make like a gluten-free sandwich bread to go along with this, so they have a bread option. I hate to leave those guys out, and so that's everything we got done today. If you like to cook along with me and see what else we have going on, the garden is in full swing right now, and so the zucchini you saw that was freeze-dried, we're going to be getting all kinds of produce out of the garden, canning up things, making things with our produce we're getting from the garden. And we'd love to have you follow along, as well as going around the state of Louisiana and visiting interesting sites. So I'm going to leave a little playlist over here if you want to check out some more options of things to make in the meantime. And I'll leave my logo over here if you haven't subscribed already, if you'd like to subscribe. And we will see you next time. Thanks for watching.